guys, good morning. How's everyone? Hi class. Hey Jonathan, good morning. Good morning Antonia. Alright guys. Hi Vivian, what's going on guys? Welcome, week number 9. How's everything going? Are we still hanging in there? How's studio going? How's design? Hi Sabrina, good morning. Hey Natalia, Cabrera. Did we get the Blackboard thing going on, Natalia? How did that go? Just curious. All right. Good, Natalia. I'm glad it worked for you. Yeah, Blackboard can be sometimes not very reliable. So remember that there's the help desk. There's a Blackboard. There's a dedicated Blackboard help desk number. Have that handy. It'd be terrible if that, starts affecting your performance in the course, not only for file submission, but also accessing the files that you need, right? That's why I sometimes encourage you guys to download the files, right? The support files that I provide, even the readings and all of that, download them so that in case that you're not able to access it, right, and you're ready to start your assignment and Blackboard's down, you're dependent upon that. So I would recommend that. And you can save it on the cloud. You can save it on the OneDrive so that it doesn't take up a space on your local drive. And then you can just wipe it out and just take it away or delete it. All right. So let's keep an eye on that. So far, Studio has been pretty good, says Sabrina. Really? Okay. That's good to hear, Sabrina. That's good to hear that no complaints with Studio. That's usually the most intense course. It's good to hear that. I'm curious if you guys in Studio 3 are you guys doing midterm? And if so, did you guys already do midterm? How's that working, Sabrina? Are you guys doing midterm or not really? I know that in my design class, Design 1, we're a little bit behind. We're trying to get caught up, but it's kind of normal. It's kind of, normal. So yeah, I would love to hear that. And definitely, I don't know if you're I think Mireles is using also Instagram for his classes, but I would love to see, for the rest, maybe Moreno, and I think Myers is doing a Studio 3. I can't remember if he's doing Studio 3 or not. Yeah, I'd love to see some of the some of your work from your Studio courses. So feel free to upload that onto your Instagram account, unless you have different accounts. But the idea is that you have a single place. Your stories too. I love seeing the stories on Instagram as well of the process of your work. Your pinups. I think again, Mireles is doing like a pinup at home kind of thing, and then you guys do like a story, and then you guys kind of like pan on that. I've seen some students Instagram with that, so that's pretty cool. Doing plexiglass models, yes. Okay, so I'm assuming that you are with Professor Mireles, because I think that's one of his iconic projects. Hey Jere, good morning. What's going on, buddy? Good morning, Eduardo. Hi, Michael. Good morning. And Mr. Jonathan. Giovanni, yes. To be honest, we have some work in Studio, but I've enjoyed the class. That's good. That's good, guys. Well, ultimately, I know sometimes it's hard to enjoy it when you have the pressure of submitting on time, following instructions, and all the other things that you have maybe outside of class. So let's try to keep that in mind, that we're here because we want to, and we're doing what we enjoy, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're here because we enjoy what we do. So keep that in mind. All right, guys, good. Well, great to have you guys here. So let's get going with today's course or lecture, class, if you will. So we have three main things that I like to talk about today. The first one is the continuation of our lab number 1. That was what was it? The object types in Rhino, right? We talked about a few of them last class. So you'll need that file, so you might want to have that handy if you're watching this recorded or if you're here in class right now. We'll talk about the project. If you guys have taken a look at the Instagram, it's quite beautiful, right? To see not only all of the work, but it's also nice to see it be populated, in this case, by all of these beautiful plants that they find their home here in our region, which would be the Chihuahuan Desert. We'll talk about what we're doing there. It's an exciting project, as all of them are. And then we'll talk about our next lab, which is surface points, or I guess surface from 3 points, more specifically. And we'll talk about our next model that we're developing for that. All right. Any questions as we begin? Do you know what to do? Throw them in the chat right there, so that I can address them. Okay. So we're going to continue where we left off last class, which is this guy right here, right? This file. Again, with the 3 object types that we have talked about in our introduction to Rhino. So we're going to need this file. And what I was thinking, maybe so that the class becomes a little bit more dynamic on your end, because I'm the one that is over here, super excited and super into the exercises, but I realize that just watching is not as fun. So it'd be great if you guys can follow along, so that as you follow along, you can maybe run into questions or problems, and I can address them. So what I was thinking, if you don't have a dual monitor, I mean, if you don't have like a laptop and then an external monitor, I just took a TV that I had here in my office, and I actually just throw it in front of me. So that's not my screen. That's now my second screen. I'm not really sure how that's going to affect my eyesight. I'm realizing that by the end of the day, I start getting like this headache because I'm staring at this TV for like 8 hours or more. So I'm not sure about that. But if you don't have a dual monitor, what I was thinking is that I think Blackboard allows you to log on from multiple devices, right? So perhaps what you could do is log on both from a desktop or laptop or wherever you're logging right now, and a phone, so that maybe you can listen to the class on the phone, and maybe try to see my screen from a phone, which is going to be kind of interesting. Maybe a tablet would work nice, and then use your desktop or laptop to follow along. That's an idea that I have, so that you guys can follow along. Or, you can try to squeeze in two windows, right? Maybe one window on your laptop, one little window is Blackboard, and then another window is your 3D modeling space. Let's see, Benjamin. They sell glasses that are intended for long screen time. They block the blue light that tires your eyes. If you had not heard of it, all right. I had not actually. I should look into that. So I'll wear glasses on top of my glasses. BMT has some really good ones. Okay, movement. Cool. I'll look into it. Thank you guys. Yeah, no, like I said, I mean, I don't know if TV screens are meant to be used as a monitor, especially for like this right here, right? You know, back in the day when we were kids, you know, I mean, we would like sit in front of the TV and like our parents would always yell at us, right? Like, don't sit so close to the TV. I don't know if that's true or not. But let's not find out. Let's not find out. You can add on the blue light protection into your own prescribed glasses. That's true. That's true. They have like this whole list of things that you want to add this, do you want to add that, do you want to add that. That's true. There's some lenses that go over your glasses, so it wouldn't be a problem because of your glasses. All right. Oh man, people think of everything. I have no reason to not do it. Amazon has some good ones, says Crystal. All right, guys. Cool. Great. All right. Well, let's see that you guys are more informed than I am on this. So, your eyesight is much younger than mine, or a little bit younger than mine. So I would definitely take care of it. All right, guys. I have also I sometimes have a lot of students. You know, back pre-corona times when we were at studio or at the lab. You know, I sometimes see students like squinting with their eyes and everything. It's like, do you need glasses? And a lot of times the students are like, yeah, I need glasses. And like, where are they? I don't use them. It's like, oh no, don't do that, because right now it's all good. But yeah, I think one of them is Professor Mireles. Actually, he really needs glasses and he refuses to wear them. So tell him, tell him that. All right, guys. So let's get going. All right. So get your file out. I started seeing some of your uploads. So good. We still have some of this squares to fill in right here. We're talking about solids and polysurfaces. We'll see what we can do with this one over here, right? From there, we'll talk about the project, which we have our initial sketches, which is, you know, something like what you see on my screen right there, right? Both of these drawings right here. I'll talk more about that. That would be for the project. And then before we leave as well, we'll talk about the lab number 3, which, you know, we'll be working on now a different kind of geometry. Your previous lab was all about, how we call it, boxes, right? This one right here, we're going to be working with polysurfaces and generating some funkiness like this, which is going to help us practice with snapping and developing surfaces and capturing the views as well, that we can upload onto your journal and Blackboard. All right, well, welcome back to this. Let's get going with this. So I think we left off somewhere over here, right? With surfaces. Let's maybe recap, right? Let's maybe recap points. Of course, we saw. I think I'm missing. I thought I had. Okay, no, yeah. So points, you know, simple, right? But then we saw how the points can help us generate curves, right? We saw how if we click on each of these polygons right here, I'm not sure if you guys have seen, right? That you have a polygon or any curve, really, and it has what's called the control points right there. And you can start actually manipulating, right, some of the geometry by selecting the curve, selecting the vertice point right there, and in this case, you know, using our gumball, right, to modify the shapes themselves. So we can go from something equilateral, such as this pentagon right here, which then we can transform into this right here would be a pentagon as well. It's just that it happens to be an irregular pentagon, right? And the same, we see that we have these bounding boxes for the ellipse, right? And we can start kind of modifying this right here. Now, in terms of selections, I'd like to talk about maybe selecting. You'll see that when I drag and click my mouse right from the right, bottom right corner to the top bottom left, from the bottom left to the top right, I get one type of box, and from the top right to the bottom left, I get a different selection box. Those are called that selection box, and they work differently, right? It usually takes some time for us to really get the hang of it. It's just practice. But you'll see that if I just want to select this point right here, that point right there, I can do a selection like this, right? And I select it. I'll get more into it, but perhaps actually a good way to practice is right here, this dots right here, right? So notice that if I do a bottom left, top right selection, only the objects that are within that box get selected, right? But if I come over here to this polylines right here, these curves, if I do a top right, bottom left, even if I don't include all of the objects within the selection box, they get selected. So, right, so it's a difference if I do this, notice that nothing gets selected, or if I do this, that everything that selection box touches gets selected. Again, you might be like, what right now? It's okay, don't worry. Just know that there's two types of selections basically, right? Is the top right to the bottom left, right? Try it if you're at home right now. Or it could be actually from the top, from the bottom right to the top left, right? So if you start from the right, both from the top and the bottom, going towards the opposite corner, right? You do that selection that as long as it touches the selection box, it gets selected. But we have a more precise selection tool, which is again from the left to the right, whether that's from the bottom or the top, that we do a selection and nothing gets selected, right? Because it has to fall within that box. And actually, this is a great example, right? Let's say that I just want to select this pentagon, and this other irregular pentagon. I can do a selection, and even though I'm touching, right, if you can see from my screen, I'm touching the larger pentagon, or I'm sorry, hexagons, the larger hexagon. The selection box is touching the larger hexagon, but as I release my mouse, it does not get selected, right? The same with this little fella right here, this triangle. I can select that triangle just creating this type of selection, right? Again, from the top left to the bottom right, and only the objects that are within that box will get selected, versus the right to left selection, which as long as I touch them with my selection box, they get highlighted. All right, try it at home. Try to get the hang of that. It's a very useful tool, and let me know if you have any issues with that. From there, right, we talked about how to generate. I'm gonna copy some of these curves, right, on these surfaces right here. From there, we talked about how to convert a curve into a surface. Now, how can I convert? Would anyone help me right here and remind me, right? How can I get a surface out of this closed curve that I have right here? You guys remember, maybe from your notes? Anybody there? Planar surface. All right, planar surface. All right. So how can we do that, right? So we select the curve, right? And I think we start right with planar, right? So I select the curve, type planar. Then you see that again as I start typing the list of commands, right? The menu of all of the commands that have the word planar on them up here. And in this case, we're looking for planar surface. That would be a command that I would save on your notes, so that again, perhaps you can add obtain a surface from curves. You can type that command, the shortcut, I guess we can call it. It's planar srf, right? And we type enter, right? And I get that surface. All right. Now let's talk about solids, right? So solids, they live in this area right here, right? Oops. If you see my cursor right there on the left side of your screen, right? So go ahead and find that menu. Again, it has that little box. I'm over here, right? So go ahead and click on this little triangle right there so that we can expand the menu. And notice that we have a wide array of polyhedrons, what's called, available for us, right? Or solids. So we have the box, the cylinder, the sphere diameter, an ellipsoid, which is kind of a, if you split a sphere, this is sort of a paraboloid, half of an egg, a cone, a truncated cone, the pyramid, truncated pyramid, tube, torus, a pipe, extrusions that we're going to be talking about, and that would be it. All right, so let's go ahead and play with them, right? So if we do a box, right? Before that though, let's actually go ahead and switch our layer, right? Let's remember that. So let's go ahead and turn on this layer over here, right? For solids on the right side of my screen, right? Let's go back to solids. Start with a simple box, all right? Now I'm gonna zoom in here right there. I'm using the grid, right? That's what's really nice about using the grid. Now notice that I'm rotating a little bit so that I can, get a sense of the height, and I get that right there. Try it, right? So I'm gonna do another one, right? So I do that right there. I do that right there. Now notice that as I'm doing my second solid, right, I can do what's called snap to a reference point, right? So notice that there's sort of this imaginary line. I don't know if you guys can see it right here. Is going to appear, right, as I move my cursor, right? Notice that I can snap, and that's going to guarantee that the second solid that I'm creating, which is in essence extrusion, has the same height as the reference point that I'm using right here, right? Now, right now we have the grid on, so it's not going to be so evident that that's helping us, but we can use that or not, right? I mean, so I can actually go beyond that, right? And I can then maybe create another one right here, and now I am going to snap to this object over here and create these solids like that, right? So we can get, in essence, what's called a cube, right, which has six equal sides, or we can just get another polyhedron, right? In this case, this prism, rectangular prism that we have there, which you might recognize, right, from your lab, which I'll maybe show you guys some of the images. Hopefully, if you guys follow the tag, right, my first Rhino model, you'll see some of the creations that you guys made for your first Rhino model, which is awesome. That's pretty cool. But this is the command that I used to generate those 4 or 5 figures that I provided for you guys on that start file. And then I used a different command called array to just populate them and multiply them differently, which we're going to talk about next class. So that's cool. That's simple, right? That's the boxes. Now let's try to do a cylinder. Notice that, again, we start actually, right, from the ground, right, drawing a polygon. In this case, well, this is not a polygon, actually. This is just a circle, but a geometric shape, right, which in this case is a circle. So that's the first thing that we define. So it's kind of like the surface area, right? From there, it's going to ask us to provide a height for it, right? So we do that, the cylinder, and we provide a height for it, right? And we can create that extrusion, or that column, or that circular cylinder. I think there's only circular cylinders, so that's cylinder, right? And well, I don't really know if there's anything else that we could do with the cylinder. Right. Oops. I think that's it. I don't want to get into that right now, right? But I don't know. We can try it maybe a few sizes. I don't know. maybe this one right here. So it's more like a drum right there. All right. And from there, we can try the sphere, right? So the sphere, notice that we're gonna create a center, right? Notice that in this case, half of the sphere is below the ground and the 0 line, and then half of it is gonna be above that, right? But if I right click, I can create another one, right? And if I select the object, use the gumball, I can move them in space, right? So they're now floating. All right. And so that would be the sphere, right? This guy right here, the ellipsoid, is kind of interesting, right? Let's see, ellipsoid center, right? So it's asking for a center, so we can provide that. Notice that it's asking for first axis. We can provide that. And it's asking for end of second axis, so I provide that. Then, right, it's asking for a third axis, right? And I can either snap to the grid or snap to an object that I have on space. But whenever I do that and I click, I get that, right? So I can create that egg-shape form, right? I'm gonna move this a little bit up so it's not very underground. Let's see, Matthew. Wait, can you repeat that? How to make the sphere float? Yeah, absolutely. So I just did it right now with the egg. So I'm gonna undo. So you make sure to begin with that gumball is on, right on the bottom right corner of your screen. Right, you'll see that my cursor kind of blinking, right? So make sure the gumball is on, that is thickened, right? Once that is on, right, you select any object that you want to move, and basically, and notice that what the gumball does is provides to you the 3 axes, right, the green, the blue, and the red, and it provides it for you in both the linear and a radial way, right, that you can rotate objects. So if I select an object and I use the blue axis, and now I move it upwards, I can now, in this case, it's not floating, but I can make it, like I can make this spheres float right there. All right, try that, Matthew. See if that works for you. Mr. Grau, is there any way to change the size of the solid after they've set? Absolutely, absolutely, there is. That's a good question. So let's maybe talk about that because it actually relates to the gumball. All right, so good question, Martin. Martin asks, right? I mean, so let's start with something simple. Perhaps, you know, this box right here. Okay, so this is actually going to allow us to understand the gumball a little bit better. So the gumball is made up of 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's start with 4 objects right now. Okay, so I want you guys to select an object. Make sure that gumball is on. Select it. Okay, so look at my screen first and let me make a few observations right here. So the gumball is made up of these arrows right here that they come in 3 flavors, right? 3 colors, green, blue, and red. We also have 3 arcs, right? Green, blue, and red. I think both of those tools, both the arrow and the arcs, you use for your previous lab. I don't know if you guys have seen this little square right here, right? That one right there. If you use that, right, that's going to allow you to move everything, right, planarly. That's the best way that I can explain it right now. It becomes more evident as you use it. Now, the last one and 4th one is what's called these handles. I don't know if you see this, if you guys see these dots right there. And then at the end, it has this square right here, right? Go ahead and play with those. See what happens. Right? So as you can see from my screen, as I use those handles, I can compress, right, or expand, if you will, that geometry that I've generated. right? So this is kind of related to Martin Grau's question, right? I mean, once I draw the form itself, can it change its size? Well, that's a start, right? I can then start editing it and, you know, resizing it and placing it where I want it to be. So try that. Right? Try changing the object's size, and evidently it'd be the proportions as well. So we're changing proportions. And notice that that gumball appears on every object, and it does the same. So I can turn a sphere into an egg by using those same handles. How's that going for you guys? Good? Now I'm gonna move this sphere over here because let's say that I want to make this sphere larger, but I don't want it to look like an egg. And I don't want to have to be extending it in all axes at the same time, right? So I did that. I make the sphere larger, right? But there's another way that I can enlarge this sphere without messing with its current proportions. And that would be that as you click and move this handle right here, you hold the shift key on your keyboard, shift, right? And then you use that handle right there. Notice that you enlarge the objects, but the objects retain their proportions, right? And it'll work the same in any handle because you are retaining proportions, so it doesn't really matter. But if you do want to shrink it, right, you would have to break the proportions and use the handles individually. But try scaling one object while holding shift key and then making it smaller so that it retains the proportions. How'd that go? Mine doesn't work. Okay, so what's going on, Sabrina? You can turn on your microphone if you want. It's the shift key. I'm not sure if you're on a Mac, if it's the same shift key. So I don't know, are you on a Mac? No, Windows? So it should be the shift key, right? So you hold the shift key and then you pull. You're not pulling on the arrows, not the arrows, right? So again, you have arrows, you have arcs, but you're pulling on this square right here, right? If you look at my cursor, right? So you hold shift and you pull from those handles. Try it. All right. Seems that it worked. Okay. You're welcome, Sabrina. Good job. So anyone else? Anyone else? Having issues with that? All good. All right, guys. So again, I would throw it in your notes, right? And again, I cannot stress enough how learning this software is kind of very, very helpful to draw some notes, because my reality is that I don't remember everything and I have to look up a lot of things. So probably you won't remember everything that we're learning right now because it's a lot of things. So taking notes not only allows you to, again, kind of like record it both on notes, but it also kind of like your brain processes it differently. And of course, you can then reference it. You can always reference the video as well, but I have a feeling that referencing your notes sometimes might be faster than trying to find this particular moment on the recording. All right. Because then I'm going to show you guys another way that you can resize any of these objects, but it requires a few clicks and holds and keys. And I usually lose a few students on these steps right here, but no worries. I'll try it multiple times. All right. So we have changed the proportions of these prisms right here by using the gumball handle right there. but there's a different way that we can do that, right? Notice that if I'm using the gumball in order to modify these prisms, it actually moves them, or it actually enlarges them on two axes, right? Both on the positive z axis and on the negative z axis, right? Upwards and downwards. But what if I actually wanted the object to retain its ground and just grow one direction, right? Just grow up. Or what if I wanted it to grow to the side? So that's relatively simple by doing the following, okay? So I would say watch me first, maybe try to take notes, and then follow along. Don't worry, I'm not gonna go anywhere. We'll try this a couple of times till you get it, okay? So the first thing that you have to understand that this is a combo, right? Any of you guys into, well, any of you guys are into arcades or playing arcades? I'm not talking necessarily about consoles or home video games, but I'm talking about like arcades, maquinitas, and how we call them, maquinitas, right? Like fighting maquinitas or whatever, right? Yeah, yeah. Well, and actually, I had a dream about that last night. That's actually kind of weird. You know, you have like these combos that you kind of make. Well, sometimes 3D modeling is kind of like that, right? So here, right, you're gonna use two keys. You're gonna use the Control and Shift key. Control and Shift, okay? And you're gonna press both of them together at the same time. Control, right? Control is CTRL plus Shift, right? CTRL plus Shift, and then you're gonna click on a surface of that polygon. In this case, I'm gonna use this prism right here. So Control Shift, click on that surface right here. Oops. Notice how, in this case, right, only the top surface gets highlighted, and then I can use the gumball to edit that prism right there. And notice that it only grew one direction, which is up. All right, I'm gonna undo so that we can try to get together. All right, so Control Shift, hold Control Shift. Again, if you're working on a Mac, it might be a little bit different. Control Shift, then select the surface that you want to move, and then use the gumball to edit it. All right, I'm gonna undo. Control Shift, select surface, move. All right, and notice that you can do that now in different faces, right? So I can select Control Shift, face, and I can move this one to the left. Thank you. Actually, that's very nice of you, Andre. I really appreciate it. I really hate to feel like I'm segregating the class between Mac and Windows, and like I'm leaving my Mac friends like on the benches, right? So I appreciate that, Andre, that you share the hotkeys with us. All right. So a Mac is Command and Shift. It's just slight differences, you know, but they're slight, but they can really throw you off. So thank you, Andre. Now try it with, for example, this prism right there, this cylinder, I'm sorry, right? So you can select that top surface, and then you can enlarge that column. Or you can select this one right here and then make it smaller. And I don't know if it's actually going to work with the spheres and the egg shapes because, well, they don't have flat surfaces. So again, I can select this surface right there and then move it upwards. And then I can enlarge that, or move this one right here and then move that right there. Cool? Any issues? Any problems? All good? Alrighty, good. So let's keep going through some of these shapes right here. Some of them are more fun, in my opinion, right? Again, the egg shape, which is the ellipsoid, I really have never used it, but it doesn't mean that it's not helpful. The next one would be the paraboloid. Let's see what that one does, right? So it's asking us for a focus, right? So I'm going to snap to the grid, right? And then paraboloid direction. I'm going to do something like that, right? And you see what this does, right? So it's kind of like a basket, right, if you will, or it's kind of like a horn, or it's kind of like a car side mirror, right? So it creates sort of this cone shape. So I'm going to move it upwards right here, right? So it does that. And again, I can use the handles to edit its proportions, right? I can maybe open it up a little bit, right? Or distort it, because I guess that's what it's doing right now. Or I can actually flip it up, right? So I could create that right there. And maybe even move it up a little bit. So that's interesting. It's an interesting form. Moving on, cone, right? Which I think the cone, first you specify a circle as a base, right? So a center, right? And then you specify the circle. And then I would rotate to a kind of like this view so that you can see a height, right? And you can create that right there. Similar to this guy right here, but not really, right? So we can create some other ones, right? And then maybe that one right there, and that one right there, right? So we have these forms right here. All right. Moving on on our list, right? We have the truncated cone, right? Which works very similarly like the cone, right? So the first thing that we're going to specify is the base radius, right? The second one is going to be the height, right? Except that this command has an extra step, which at the end of the command we specify another circle, right? Wait a second. It's kind of like giving me an issue right here. There we go, right? And it does that. Or you could do the opposite, do a small, tiny base, right? And then specify the height, and then do a larger radius on the top. Cool. All right, you guys are doing great. Let's move on. Right, and for example, we can actually, hold on, before we do that, let's see what happens if we, right, if we can turn on the hold Control Shift, right, and then maybe edit this, Control Shift, this one right there, and this one. So we do that. All right. Pyramid. Now the pyramid is cool because the pyramid could be any number of sides, right? So you have a 3-sided pyramid, 4-sided pyramid, 5-sided pyramid, which, that 3, 4, 5 sides, it comes from the number of edges on the ground base, right? So let's see what I mean. So notice, remember from our polygon command, we have this setting right here. Notice that right now, number of sides it's set up to 5, right? So if I draw that pyramid, notice that the first thing that it does is draw a pentagon, and from there it's asking me to do a height, and it creates a 5-sided pyramid. Try it. And if you're like, well, wait a second, mine is not 5 sides, right? It says for me 3, or for me says 4, or for me says X number, right? Remember that that is a setting that we can easily change, right? We go ahead and select pyramid again. We click where it says right here, right? Number of sides. And I can change that to a 3. And then we'll have a 3-sided pyramid in theory, right? And we can do the same height, or maybe use this height as a reference. So that would be a 3-sided pyramid, and you can actually see it better in the top view, right? So if you double click, use the top view, and you see it from the top, You see how this three-sided pyramid looks like a triangle from the top view versus this five-sided pyramid right here that looks like a pentagon seen from the top view. And of course, all of these other forms and shapes that you have there. So try a few. I'm going to go back to perspective. Let's do a four-sided now, right? So pyramid, number of sides, 4, enter, click, click, and click. So we have some sort of Giza, the pyramid of Giza, pyramids of Giza kind of a thing going on right here. Although those were definitely not five-sided. But in our mind, they are. In our world, they are. So we got that. And you can do, I mean, the more sides that you add, let's say that I do a pyramid with 20 sides, the more that is going to resemble another geometric shape, which is a simple cone. Right? So if I do a 20-sided pyramid, notice that it's very difficult to see actually the creases of the 20-sided polygon, right? It actually just starts reading as a cone, but this might be helpful actually if you had to fabricate it, which we're not going to get into this semester. Hopefully next semester for graphics 2, we start actually creating some models off of the geometries that you are generating here. So just have that in mind, right? That sometimes the way that we hack this is, okay, I need to do a cone. Rather than doing a cone, you actually want to do a multifaceted pyramid so that you can fabricate that or print the template and then start folding it so that you create this shape that ultimately can look like a cone. But you know, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. So I'm going to move this over here. So that's what this object on the gumball allows you to do, right? So rather than moving just on one direction or another direction, if I hold this square right here, notice that I can move, right, on both directions at the same time. So that's what I like about that tool right there. Eduardo, Professor, is it okay if we didn't replicate the same solids you have on screen, but still messing around with the same commands and tools? Sure. I mean, you know, just something similar that we're trying right here. Again, I'm trying to walk you guys through some of the tools that I see that you can use. So, I mean, try to keep them as close as possible as they are, as I have on my screen. Am I gonna go in there and count like, oh, that's a 20, that's an 18-sided pyramid versus a 20 that I did? Not really, right? But just try somewhere along the lines of what I'm doing right here, just so that you don't miss on any of the objects that I'm doing right here. But it's not that I say if you have a shapes, right? I mean, you have this shape right there, it's gonna look different. These shapes might look different, but at the end of the day, they're both gonna be a truncated cone. But this one is gonna be, I always forget what this is called, a paraboloid, right? So that's okay. Right? Martin, sir, when I try to put a space on the command bar, it enters what I put in. Yeah, so you cannot use space on the command line. So why would you need to add a space, Martin? If you see, all of the commands are one word, even though there might be multiple words. You know, I mean, you know, like for example, capture. Capture. View capture. And for example, view capture to file is one big word, so there's no spaces. But what are you trying to do, Martin? Number of sides, right? So if I go again into the pyramid, right, and I click on number of sides, right, click there, and I just type again, maybe now I'll do something smaller, 9, right? And then I press enter, click, 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 right? But there's no need for spaces, Martin. What are you trying to do? I'm not sure what you're trying to do. Yeah. All right. No worries. not sure what happened, but yeah, there's no spaces. Anytime that you're entering a command, remember that spacebar is reserved for enters, right? So there's no spaces within commands, period. Any command. No command has a space, which is kind of like coding, right? I mean, if you're gotten into programming, I don't think there's spaces when you're coding, right? I mean, when you're programming. So it just reads everything like do, 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 do. And I think if there is a space, it's like a break or something. I don't know. I'm making stuff up. Let's keep going. Truncated pyramid. All right. I think we get the point of this, right? So truncated pyramid is going to create a pyramid, right? And then at the end of the command is going to ask us to redefine, right? And we create that, which starts looking kind of cool, right? I think we get the point, right? We get the point of solids. Tube, right? The tube, it gives us a circle, and then the offset, and then it creates that, right? A hollow tube. And I can maybe rotate this. Remember that whole shift, and you rotate it 90 degrees. I can move it like that. I start creating kind of that. And I can rotate it like this. I can start kind of like creating this right here. The torus, which aka donut. I think actually I started this wrong, but let's try it right there. So let's do that right there. And let's maybe do this right here. And that right there. I think I started this wrong. Second radius. All right, so Natalia, so how do you rotate? Well, there's a couple of ways that you can rotate, but right now let's use the gumball. So select the object, and first of all, decide which axis do you want to rotate in. Let me use the cylinder right here. So if I rotate on the blue axis, right, use the blue axis like this. If I'm rotating on the red, it does kind of like that. Or if I rotate on the green, it does that. Kind of like that. Try that, Natalia. And Mr. Nick is correct, Eduardo. Control Z as in zebra will undo. And that's how you undo commands. Thanks, Nick. Good question, guys. Good questions. And again, just write it down, take some notes. Trust me, create some sort of a cheat sheet. It's really, really going to help you. Or that's right. I think anytime that I say control on Windows, it'll be command on Mac. I might be wrong. That's right. Soilin, thank you. So command Z will undo. That's correct. I forgot what I was doing. Oh, the torus. Center of torus. Let's see. Let me try. Actually, I don't know if I've ever played with this. Let's do that. Oh, okay, I was doing a very small. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's cool. So it's like a hula hoop. It's like a ring. So that's interesting. Yeah, that is Apple's campus. Yeah, that's true. But it's your Norman Foster. So the torus, there you go. That's an interesting command. I've honestly, I'm not really used a lot of these. It's funny. Sometimes you just get stuck with the same commands. It's like once you learn how to do a few commands, it's like you don't get out of those commands. But we're gonna change that. We're gonna change that this semester. We're gonna do some exercise with that. So that's the torus right there, or your nose piercing, or whatever. We do a pipe. All right. For the pipe, we need a rail. That's okay. Let's try that. All right, guys, let's try to pipe. All right, so draw a curve. Let's draw a curve. All right, so let's do control point curve. All right, and draw a curve. All right, let me do kind of like that. All right, so I have a curve on the ground. I'm kind of creating a mess over here, but that's okay. So check this out, guys. So I have a curve. So I'm going to change its color. I'm going to make it a curve so that we can recognize it. So it's that blue line that we have right there, right? So again, watch me and then you'll follow along just so that you can see how that command acts. Because this command has, you know, a lot of these commands have step A, B, and C. Let's see how many of them is it. So the first thing is draw a curve, right? So I draw a curve. I turn it into its right layer, which in my case is this blue color for curve. All right, I go into this solid menu, and then notice that I'm selecting pipe that caps. All right, so I select that. Now notice that it's asking us for select a rail. That's what this curve is going to work as. It's going to work as a rail, right? So we select that curve. Now notice that it's going to snap right onto one of the ends of that curve, and we're setting right. What is it that I'm trying to set right here with this shape or this circle? What am I saying with that? The diameter, right? The diameter. The diameter of what? Well, of the pipe, right? Exactly, obviously, right? Okay, everyone on board. Excellent. So I go ahead and click, right? Now notice that it now then snaps to the end, right, of the curve. And I can set the end radius, right? So I'm going to do something evidently different from the beginning so that you can see how this works. So I click there. Now notice, right, it's asking me for point of next radius. I'm not going to do another one. I'm just going to hit enter, right? And it creates this funky looking thing. So it's a pipe, right? But it has a different diameter on one end. It has a smaller diameter on one end, and it has a larger diameter on other end. Looks kind of weird, huh? Right? So let's go ahead and fix that. I just wanted to show you that you can do that if you wanted to. So I'm going to select that and move it out of the way, because notice that the curve remains there. The original curve remains there. I'm going to move it right here. Yeah. So, okay, so let's redo that. All right, let's redo that. So we're right here with a curve, right? So I'm right here with a curve. I'm going to type pipe because I remember that that is a command, right? So pipe. I select the rail, which is the curve that I first drew. I'm going to set the first radius to be something tiny. And then notice that as soon as I click on the first radius, it immediately snaps or sends me to the other end of the pipe to set the end radius. All right. Right now, I'm just clicking. We can actually specify dimensions, like I can set it to 3 feet or whatever. We'll do that later, right? So I click right there. Notice that the command is still active, so I press enter one more time, and it creates that first pipe. Okay. Try that. Everyone get that? And then I'm gonna move it out of the way because that's gonna show us the original curve, because we're gonna do another one that has the same diameter on both ends, of the beginning and then the end. All right, all good. Now watch me so that we can build another pipe. So I'm going to type pipe again. Right. I'm going to select the same curve. Now, rather than just eyeing it and clicking anywhere where my mouse or my cursor snaps to, notice that I can actually specify, right, the actual radius. rather than me just defining it right there on the screen, I actually can type it. And notice that the cursor is blinking over here, right? That's telling me that I can actually insert a number there. And I'm going to do that, right? So I'm going to type, let's do 1.5. 1 second. Are you not working? Numbers on. Oh, there we go. 1.5. Enter. Then I'm going to do 1.5 at the end as well. And enter again. Now that's a fat pipe, but it does have what we were looking for, right? Equal ends. So does the same diameter, the same diameter. I'm going to undo so that we can try it again together, okay? So don't worry if you didn't get it. So let's do this one more time. I'm going to type pipe. I'm going to select the original curve. I'm going to type now 0.5 rather than 1.5. 0.5, enter. Then notice that the command is prompting me again. So it says end radius. I'm going to type 0.5 again, enter. Notice that nothing happens because I need to press enter a third time. And I create that. How did that go for you guys? Got it? All right, good, awesome. We do use this command quite a bit for other things later on, so it's good to have that on your radar, that type command. Cool. All right, let's move on. I think actually we're pretty much done with the solids. I never tried actually this pipe round caps. Let's try it. Let's try it. We're experimenting right here. So let's select it. Let's use that same curve. All right, so the rail is right here. Let's see, start radius. Let's do 0.5 again, and then end radius 0.5. Enter. And then point of next radius. Enter. And oh, I guess that's it. So it's the same, except that it does just what it says it would do, right? I mean, it would give me a pipe with a rounded cap rather than this flat cap right here. All right, well, good to know. If you ever need that, it's there. I'm gonna move this over here. All right, we're done with what I guess you could call sometimes primitive solids, right? They're primitive because they're kind of embedded right there within the system. There's other ways that we can create solid. And this is a command that we all love, right? Because, well, it's pretty useful. So check this out, guys. Let's. How's everyone doing? Good. Let's come back to this screen where I'm at, so you can see what I'm going to do next. Okay. So let's go to the curves over here. And I'm going to select, right, I'm going to type copy, right, enter. I'm going to select maybe something like this, something like this, something like this. Three shapes that are just kind of odd, right, kind of weird. Three shapes that they're not standard, let's put it that way. And I'm going to copy them somewhere over here by where we have our solids. All right, so go ahead and try that. All right, so go to your curves over here, pick a few of the shapes that we've done right there that are kind of not distorted, but not standard polygons, not standard circles, so that you can see how the extrude command works. Okay, so I copied these three shapes right here. All right, everyone see me? All right, so 1, 2, 3. So I have this 5-sided polygon. I have whatever this is. I took a ellipse and deformed it. And then this 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12-sided polygon or something like that. All right. So make sure that you're on the solid layer as you should be. And then the next command that we're going to learn lives over here. I'm sorry, over here on the solids area. And it's this one right here. It's called extrude close planar curve. Or you can just type extrude, and then you go to extrude CRV for curve. So we're going to take a curve and we're going to extrude it into a solid or a polysurface, okay? Depending on the input curve that we use, okay? So don't get ahead of me. So extrude CRV, enter. Now select the curve that you want to extrude, enter. Then I can extrude it just like any other prism. All right, let's try that, right? So I'm gonna press enter so that I can extrude this other curve right here. And notice that I can do that. And enter so that I can do that over here as well. We have these beautiful buildings there. Right, try that. See how that goes for you. And let me see if you run into any other issues. So we have this futuristic city going on over here. Try extruding curves so that you get a different type of solid. And while we're at it, don't forget to save your model. So click save. All right, how did that go extruding curves? Were you able to get some irregular extrusions like I did over here? 1, 2, 3 out of curves. And again, remember, if I select the solid and move it aside, I still have the origin curve, or the input curve, should I say. Which, that's a setting that we can change, but we'll do that later. All right, so it seems that everyone got that. No problems, issues with that? I think a lot of you guys might be familiar already with that command, so great. Awesome. All right, guys, cool. Let's move on. Let's move on to our polysurfaces. And that's, kind of simple over here. And I guess the only thing that I wanted to show about those polysurfaces is that you can, let's copy with us, let's type copy. Let's grab, a few polygons like I'm doing over here, right? So the 3 of those irregular ones, and place them kind of like over here inside of that drawing area. Whoa, it's not right. There we go. All right, so grab a few of these solids. The last thing that I want to show you guys is how to extract faces out of these solids. All right, so we're actually going to use, so again, if I can borrow your attention, we're actually going to use the same combo that we used when we're trying to extrude over here. Remember that we did this? We use this to extrude like that. We're going to do the same over here, except that, so so if you watch me, right? So I'm going to select, right, a face, and rather than extruding it, I'm going to select it. I'm going to press delete. And notice that I then have created a polysurface or an open polygon. And this is interesting because it shows us that actually any shape that you create in Rhino is hollow. And that's a very Rhino thing. There's other there's other softwares, other 3D modeling softwares such as Maya, Autodesk Maya or Autodesk 3ds Max that works with solids. I think what's it called, the other one? ZBrush or whatever. There's other softwares that work with solids. We're working with surfaces. So technically, all of the solid works. Yes, and there's another one with a Z. There's another one with a Z. Anyway, so you can select this, Control Shift, select the face, and then press delete, and you can delete faces. And you start kind of later on, this becomes helpful, right? You can delete that, and you can start kind of seeing into the building or model, and you can start creating other faces on top of that, maybe out of different materials. Maybe this front face is glass, the rest is concrete or something like that. Right? So I just wanted to show you guys that. So select a few solids, select a few other faces, and delete them so you can see a little bit of that action. Like this one, for example, I'm not really sure what's going on. If I select that and delete it, it creates kind of like that. Which then, later on, we're gonna we need to solve some things because in architectural terms, right? Every material that we use in architecture has a thickness, and that's where this becomes definitely different. Let's say from Revit, that in Revit, for the most part, you start by drawing a wall, right? That already has a thickness. But here in Rhino, we sometimes have to specify the thickness of the object so that it actually gives us a material thickness. I will elaborate more on that later on. It'll make more sense, right? But for right now, just again, I wanted you guys to see that all of these shapes that we're creating right now, they are actually hollow. Because that's kind of a big deal later on. Cool. Natalia, Professor, I'm not able to delete. Let's see what's going on. Follow along with me. All right. So I'm going to select another cube. And so copy, bring it over here. So again, Natalia, let's try this, right? So Control Shift, select the faces. I like that one, that one, surface. What? Whoops, not that one. This one and this one. And then press the delete key. It should do that. I'm going to select that one and delete this. No? Got it. Thank you. All right. You're welcome, Natalia. We got that going right there. All right, guys. Well, let's do the following. I think we're done with our introduction right here. Now I know what we're going to do with the last box right here. So on this last box right here, that we're still not sure that I wasn't sure what we're going to do with this, right? We'll take a little break, or I'll take a little break, right? And in the meantime, I want you guys to just try it on your own, right? So try on your own, on your one, try on your own. Right? So I want you guys to just draw a few things right here in this last box right here from perhaps, I think the solids is what makes this a little bit more fun. So, just try to do something, whatever you want on this last box right here. All right, just, something simple or not, something elaborate if you want. But now try to, use the tools that you know. All right, and we'll come back. We'll come back for that. So we finished the solids and polysurfaces today. go ahead and pick a few of your favorite commands from today and last class if you want, and just draw something over here. This try on your own area. Yeah, and if you're watching this home, try it as well, or if you're watching this recorded, try it as well. All right, guys, I'm gonna stop the recording right here.